same deal. He was smart enough, though, to record them. So we have New York Times, CBS News. Yes, the government allowed it to take place. No, they didn't allow it to take place. They did it.
Yeah, and what happens with this is even the agents that were not necessarily involved in taking the operation live, they are complicit in the cover-up to preserve themselves and their pensions, you know, so it gets the whole institution involved in the cover-up.
Well, we see the mechanism for a false flag operation is that they take an existing operation, they insert a few key personnel, and they turn it to their own ends. The Oklahoma City bombing was originally supposed to be a big publicity stunt. That bomb was supposed to explode the previous night and destroy an empty building. That's what they were waiting on, a big PR stunt. That's not.
And that's why McVeigh got so mad, we're told, because he didn't want to kill kids.
Exactly. And then once they messed up and it blew up and killed over 100 people, almost 200 people, now everyone goes into cover-up mode for what they think is a tremendous foul-up. But it's not. It actually did go along according to the plan, and that's how they get the cover-up installed. It's not like every agent on the street is covering up the fact that the FBI blew up the Murrah building.
No, it's declassified that Lee Harvey Oswald had a top security clearance at a U-2 base in Japan, was CIA, the documents have now been declassified, and they set him up. And he's like, I'm a patsy. And they're like, you're not going to talk. Boom, with a guy they know's already got cancer. And Jolly and West, McVeigh's doctor's involved with that. Who's in the congressional hearings. Folks, I know this sounds crazy, but you got to look it up yourself. As the #2 guy under Ewing Cameron for mind control programs, MK Ultra. I mean, this is, you cannot make up how weird this is.
Yeah, and people would question, well, if he was a government agent working, why would he not expose the people that were higher up? And whenever Dr. Jolly West comes on the scene, consulting with the defense team, you know, immediately after the bombing, this guy's worked with Saran, Jack Ruby, Patty Hearst, you know, any of these big events to you know, and then all of a sudden now they're silent on what happened. You know, I think that's a good possibility as to why McVeigh wasn't talking after the event. And then you see that Dr. Jolly West actually passes the torch to his protege. Wendy Painting uncovered information where his protege John Smith took over with McVeigh. That guy is now in charge of psychology at Guantanamo Bay,
which they admit has another base within it where they do mind control studies. That's even Washington Post. And then they release those guys to become Al-Qaeda leaders leading the Libya attack.
Exactly. It's kind of the self-perpetuating cycle. They create these zombie killers in these mind control camps. What we see at Guantanamo Bay is that you have Camp X-Ray, and then you have what the guards call Camp Nowhere, which is a camp that's not on the map, where the real heavy stuff goes down. So I mean,
they admit that's CIA doctors.
Exactly.
Right, and they use the 3Ds, dependency, debilitation, and dread. This was pioneered by, you know, Ewan Cameron and Jolly and West. They're using that at Guantanamo Bay, and I think this is probably why they're not interested in older so-called Al-Qaeda people being put in there.
They want kids. That's why it came out again in the Washington Post and in Operation Jawbreaker that they wanted 12-year-old kids in Afghanistan. That's who they mainly were grabbing because they can purely program them, and these are going to be the terrorists they're going to unleash on America. And for those that don't know, there's History Channel specials even admitting that Ewing Cameron, Jolly and West's boss, would grab foster children and put them on hallucinogens for a year straight, frying their brain with audio recording who they were and keywords to get food, to stop the dread, putting them on PCP, dancing around in devil outfits, terrorizing 5-year-old girls. I mean, this country is run by absolute psychopathic killers. And the government, I mean, it came out in Guantanamo Bay. I'm not even going to say on air what they do to those people. I mean, it is unbelievable, man. And they're all going to hit us with jihadi attacks. And then they'll come and say, we got to stick our hands down your children's pants because we're fighting Al-Qaeda, who publicly works for them.
Exactly. I mean, what we see there is that they create the actual problem. This is the false flag attack. They create the actual problem. And if people have a hard time believing that this government or a faction of this government could have pulled off Oklahoma City, look at what the CIA has been doing to countries overseas for decades. Fostering coups, putting in military strongmen that kill thousands of people, doing fake bombings under Operation Gladio in Europe and Italy. The Italian Senate has accused the CIA of being involved in the Bologna train bombing station, train station bombing.
No, their former president, who was the head of their intelligence agency at the time, said he was involved in it. And he said 9/11's an inside job. That's the big Italian papers. You're absolutely right.
When they bring that mechanism home to affect change here, why should we be surprised? Like we said, if you don't hold them accountable, they will continue to do their crimes and make them greater. What incentive do they have to stop? None.
And the only reason we're still alive is because if they kill us, it highlights everything we've said, exclamation points. They still may do it. But once you understand These are cold-blooded killers who even set up their own agents who were going to bomb a empty building. And then McVeigh throws a fit, and we've talked to the witnesses, family and others, lawyers. As you said, I'm not going to blow kids up. Forget this. They're like, they'd already psychologically pegged that he was Dudley Do-Right was going to do that. They were all ready. They're like, because it's run by 170 IQ psychiatrists. This whole thing is run by them.
But they've had decades to hone their technique. I mean, MK Ultra started in the 1950s, under the 1960s under that name. Then it changed and it went underground. I mean, they've had decades to.
And they profiled McVeigh. They profiled Lee Harvey Oswald.
McVeigh's military records from Special Forces were never released. His psychological records were never released. And what medical records we do have are very disturbing. He was going to the doctor at last count over 100 times in just 3 years in the military. That is highly unusual for someone in the combat arms, highly unusual for someone like McVeigh who claims never have any health problems. He's going to the dentist once a week for over a year, claims he has no dental problems. What is he doing? What is he going under? We don't know, and they have never released all those records in full. In fact, those records on McVeigh were sealed on orders of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Exactly. It's national security everywhere. Gentlemen, great job. Look forward to talking to you again and interviewing some of the people that are in your film. Amazing job. Available at Infowars.com. People got to get this video out to everybody. Look forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right, folks, that is it for this split edition of Infowars Nightly News with Mike Adams in the first half, and I came in the second half. Great job to the crew. God willing, we'll see you back Sunday live on the radio, 4 to 6 p.m., and back Monday on the radio show and then the nighttime show. Why do we work so hard? Because we know terrorists are running the government and nobody's safe. It's like that old analogy of the old 40s, adventure movies where the explorer, the archaeologist, kind of the remake as Indiana Jones, is in the temple and the ceiling's coming down to kill you with spikes. You got to find the lever to stop it or get out of there. I mean, it's not like, God, you're brave. You're trying to get out of this. Brave? No, I'm not brave. I realize our society has no future. I guess I'm brave that I'm not a coward who only thinks about myself, and if I grovel, maybe I'll get a few more years out of this. There's no point even going forward if we don't beat these people. You think they stop blowing up federal buildings? They're putting stuff in the water, the food, they've been caught. It's all public, the vaccines, the Rockefeller Foundation. We've shown it to you. All you've got to do is flip the switch and stop being naive. The film's a noble lie available at Infowars.com. And they could kill all of us, but this information will live on, and that's what's important. Expose false flag terror, expose the New World Order. Order the film, give the gift of truth. Order it by Sunday night, guaranteed before Christmas delivery under that Tannenbaum to wake somebody up. Give the gift of truth. Expose the false flag, because they're getting ready to stage more and blame it on domestic groups. They'll flip the whole Al-Qaeda brainwashing onto domestics. You already see the beta testing, the preconditioning. It's here. All right, I'm Alex Jones signing off from the front lines of the Info War.